Hi there, everyone. Hope this reading finds you all well wherever you are. And when you see this reading, if it's at the time of it publishing, I will probably be traveling. So I've recorded some of these ahead of time. And this particular reading, I feel like I need to touch on some past life stuff or stuff from the Akashic Records. So for those of you who are not familiar with that, um, some people believe in reincarnation, some don't. I'm one of the ones who do, and so I do past life readings to see what kind of influences come through from past experiences. Sometimes this can be from your current lifetime, sometimes from previous lifetimes. And when I do a past life reading, I don't, for instance, tell you, your name was John and you lived in 1408 in Manhattan. Those kind of details are not necessarily relevant, but what is most important is usually the life lessons that come through or things that you're really good at, repeating patterns you have, karmic relationships that come through, whether those are positive or negative. Karmic relationships aren't always romantic, aren't always exclusively platonic, but Spirit tells us what we need to hear at that time in our life, and we can have more than one past life reading or Akashic Records reading in our lifetime, because whatever's relevant at that particular time, whatever we're busy living through or experiencing at that time, is usually what comes up as relevant. The Akashic Records reading is not exclusively past life. It will also talk about things that are currently happening. It's a very personal reading in terms of what your personal spiritual path is. So it's not just going to be career related or a romantic reading or something like that. It encompasses everything usually, or does sometimes focus on really specific things. But it's past, present, and future, whatever Spirit wants to talk about at that time that is playing out in your life, that's important. So it's not just past life focused. And it brings through sometimes energies that are around you, opportunities that are coming up, things that you're struggling with that could be karmic past life things. There's no telling what comes up when you do an Akashic Records reading, but the Akashic Records, the concept of it is that it is a library of all the information. It's a way to tap into the infinite library of history, as well as the infinite potentials that are out there for us in the future, and relevant information around what we're currently experiencing. So it can be very enlightening, and I'm going to be using both of these decks. I think we'll see what Spirit wants me to do, but I just felt called to do that. I also got a message. I'm just going to kind of see who it's for, but we'll see based on what cards want to pop up. Okay, let's get started. Not get too close to my plants. Okay. I think just going to see which ones they want me to start with. Let's shuffle first. I did get the message straight away before I even started trying to scry with the smoke that I got the message cheating. So I don't know what this is about, if this is in a relationship, if it's in a situation where someone wasn't honest and they've tried to cheat their way through something. I don't know what it's about, but it's important for somebody. So let's see what comes up. I just want to see which deck they would like me to use first while I shuffle. Okay, it's going to be this one. Please don't let what I've said color your perception of the reading. Let's try to remain objective and see what comes up first. Okay, what do we need to know today? Please, from the past life cards. Whoops, there we go. Male, female. you. Health. Finances. Spouse. Maybe this does have to do with relationships for somebody. This usually gives an indication that the spouse is somebody that's been in a past life with somebody. I have also a feeling this is the last card that we needed. Yep, okay. Let's see what else. As I mentioned, I'll be traveling when you see this. So if you are looking for bookings for private readings, please know that I'm not necessarily available right now. If you've got any queries, you can email me. My email will be in the description below. My Etsy shop's currently on holiday mode, but my testimonials of my work are still available if you go into the Etsy shop, which the link will be there as well. But just know that I've got no planned schedule for doing readings at the moment until I reactivate the Etsy shop. I can do it on an ad hoc basis when I have time, depending on what happens while I'm traveling. Okay. Okay, I have to talk about this first. Let's just get the other cards. What else do we need to know, please? From the Akashic Records deck. Okay, that's exactly what we're talking about here. I think that's all from this deck as well. Yep. Okay. I'm going to be pulling from the tarot as well. Okay, so we've got the Four of Scrolls from the Akashic Tarot, the Karmic Trench, the Eight of Forces, the Lightning Bolt, and Archangel Gabriel in the reverse position. All right, for somebody here, there is definitely a situation where there is a separation in a marriage or a relationship, and I feel like this is due to health issues that somebody has and financial constraints. So I feel like there's some kind of resentment potentially from one spouse to another, one partner to another, and it's because somebody's had a health condition and this has cost a lot of money, and this has become like a bone of contention between these two people. I don't know if this is a same-sex relationship. I think for some of you that's going to be the case, for others not. But it's like the health conditions or the medical bills or something like this is really causing a problem, and it's caused the relationship to degrade. This is a karmic lesson that needs to be learned. All right, this is something that needs to be dealt with. This has happened before. So what is going on here is it's highly likely that the two people I'm talking about in the relationship, and this could be a collective of you, like I said, it could be a same-sex relationship or a heterosexual relationship here, that is a karmic connection. This person's been in your life before. A similar situation has occurred before, because the karmic trench comes up here saying that we have been digging this trench and digging this trench with all of these bags of seeds that we could have potentially planted, but we haven't noticed them. We just keep doing the same thing over and over, perpetuating the same cycle over and over. So this is being drawn to our attention so that we can break this cycle. And I feel like whatever has happened here, I feel like one of the partners, probably the one who's feeling the resentment around the money issues that are happening here. This is a situation now where this person has strayed away from the relationship. All right, in some way or another, or there's definitely accusation around it. And I feel like this is coming as a huge shock to the person on the other side of this, that there's been a complete communication breakdown. There is, this is in a really bad way when it comes to this particular situation. What I want to say about this, which is going to help potentially this person who's if you are, I don't know if you are the so-called perpetrator here that might be straying away from the relationship, but from a rational perspective on your part, it's because this has all taken a toll on you. I don't know if you are the person on the receiving end of the cheating, or not necessarily that that's the case for everybody, but this resentment around whatever this issue is that has to do with health and money. This is something that's happened before, okay? This is a past life issue that the two of you have dealt with before. It can manifest in a myriad of different ways, though. So the example I like to use when I'm talking about patterns that repeat themselves like this, with the Akashic records or with our karmic trenches that we dig for ourselves, is we need to look for the pattern. What is this thing that keeps happening? And you might actually have this happening more than once in the relationship, like maybe somebody's repetitively done something. Maybe it's an addiction that's a problem here, and the other partner's had enough, and so they've gone and found somebody else to spend time with that is not, an addict. Maybe it is a situation where somebody's trying to go through some kind of transformation, or it's plastic surgery, or, there's a million different options. But the point being, we've got to look for the root of the lesson in all of these experiences going back between the two of you. And that would be this feeling of resentment because of mismanagement of certain things, or not respecting the other person, or the communication breaking down to the point where things go wrong. All right, so the communication has to be opened up. At the time of doing this, we're actually in Mercury retrograde. Mercury is associated with Archangel Gabriel because he is the angel of communication. And this isn't come up in the reverse position. So this is about there not being communication. Somebody either doesn't feel like they can speak up and advocate for themselves, or they feel like they get shut down all the time. They're not being heard. This can even manifest in certain ways where you have issues with the throat. The throat chakra is associated with this because that is our conduit for truth. That is our conduit for communication. And if we're not being heard, or we don't have the courage to speak up for ourselves, and the communication is just completely broken down, that will be the root of the problem. All right, so communication in a relationship is key. And that might be a repetitive pattern that one of you just shuts down, or one of you shuts the other one down. And again, we're looking for patterns. So if we had, for instance, a past life relationship between two people where I said to you there's a pattern of betrayal, this can manifest in many different ways. It can be that in a past life you and this person were business associates, and this person ran away with all your money and betrayed you. And then in the next life, when you meet each other, that pattern repeats because you are husband and wife, and one cheats on the other. And so there's a form of betrayal. You could then reincarnate together in your brother and sister, or siblings of some sort, and there's a family estate to divide, and one person cheats the other one out of money. All right, so you see all these different scenarios, but there's a common pattern. And that's what you've got to look for, because that's the pattern that's repeating, that's causing the karmic trench energy. And this has come as a big surprise to somebody. It feels like it's really like knocked you down, taken the wind out of your sails. But I feel like if the person who's on the receiving end, or supposedly would be perceived as being on the receiving end of this cheating, or this the other person detaching, this is something that you knew it was coming. Like the signs were there for a long time. And it was either something we don't want to see, or something that where we just missed the signs. They were there all the time, or somebody else told us, or someone warned us, if you carry on like this, so-and-so is not going to put up with it anymore. And we just didn't want to know it. We didn't want to see it, or didn't believe that it was possible, and thought, oh, everyone's being so silly. However, it's come through. But this breakdown in communication is a problem. And I think that this might even be that someone else has contributed to that happening. Okay, this does feel like there's definitely a third party here, and this has become problematic for somebody. But it's like the signs were there, the warning signs were there, and you've been in the situation before where the warning signs were there and this kind of thing has happened, and the two of you keep repeating the cycle in different ways, shapes and forms. The solution to a large extent is to open up communication, even if you're not going to necessarily stay together. All right, this needs to be released. You can actually work with Archangel Gabriel, whether you believe in angels or not. It's an archetype or a consciousness of communication, and you ask for that communication to open up. You ask for your throat chakra to open up. Help me to speak my truth from a place of love. Help me to have the courage to say what I need to say we need to talk, we need to communicate. What has happened? Be honest with me. Let's try and resolve this. And not everyone's spiritual, not everyone's going to be receptive if you say, by the way, I saw this reading and we have a karmic trench we need to sort out. So however you're going to handle it in the best way possible. I feel like communication is key, whether these two people do end up staying together, or this person has strayed with the intention to permanently stray, or it's just because they felt misunderstood or ignored. Whatever the situation is here, communication is a big thing. Okay, and to not allow yourself to have been completely broken down by this, but to harness that energy of this lightning bolt that you feel has struck you down, and instead harness that lightning bolt and see, how can I hold this energy within me and redirect it and move forward and use it in a constructive way. Okay, but ask for the energy of communication to help here. We are in Mercury retrograde, but I have actually found this retrograde, maybe because of the eclipse that we're having at the time that this was recorded, that it seems to not have such an impact. The energy is definitely weird and uncomfortable at this time, but people are saying what they want to say. And even if you're not seeing this at the time of the recording, there's a message here for you, okay? Unless you watch every single video I do, that might be a different story. But it's not to say that there isn't something you can take from each one. I'm going to try and get more advice here. Where do I want to go? Okay, any advice here, please? Whoops, there it goes. Prayer. Okay, interesting. Prayer. All right, I don't know if somebody here, if this is an issue where, and this is getting really personal, but if there's somebody who's got cancer, I know that can really take its toll, because I'm just seeing something I spoke about last night, actually, about lemon water being very good for flushing acid out of the system. And this is something that a lot of cancer patients are advised to do, to get rid of the inflammation, because the acidity causes the inflammation. And so I don't know if that's relevant to anybody, that this is an issue, but I feel as if obviously prayer is being brought up here. I feel like the prayer for the opening of the communication, and to get out into nature, just to walk out into the garden or wherever and clear your thoughts, clear your mind, have a good think, and don't be afraid to spend some time with yourself and be quiet and receptive, because that's when a lot of solutions come to us. That's when spirit speaks to us. That's when we have realizations and epiphanies and a change in consciousness about certain things. That's when we have communication from spirit, and it seems like communication on all levels is very much blocked at the moment. So pray for what you want, pray for a resolution. If you are into praying to angels, Archangel Raphael is very good for healing of relationships, reconciliation, and reunion. Again, an archetype or a consciousness that we can tap into that's around us at all times. Okay, let's see. Is there any other advice, please? I have a sneaking suspicion that might be it. All right, I don't think that, I have a feeling someone's going to say, how can you tell me that's the solution? Just pray. And I understand why people are not satisfied with that kind of advice sometimes. It's especially when you're in a sticky situation. It's like, don't just tell me to pray. You know, people do get very emotional, and then we get a bit angry, and it's rightfully so, because we're going through a lot. So let me just see if there's anything else I can get from the tarot in terms of advice. I'm sorry about the unsightly sticker on the plant there, but I can't burn it away with my candle. Okay. Any advice, please, for whoever's watching at the moment who needs resolution with this situation? What advice do we have, please? I'm going to take them. Okay. Oh, there's a lot of difficult energy here. I do feel for whoever's going through this. Anything else? Is the sun the bottom of the deck? Okay. I feel like there's potential for hope here. So I feel like somebody needed to know that. Like if they'd like to work towards reconciliation, is there hope for that? The Two of Wands says to me, yes, and often talks about us being halfway through something, or like partly have made part progress with something, and then we have a bit of a pause until we move on. And the advice that comes through is the Devil, which always tells us that, you know, our judgment can be very clouded around something, and it asks us to proceed with caution, take things step by step, be careful, cross your T's, dot your I's, make sure of your facts, don't just jump into something, don't also make any rash decisions now, to stay, to leave, whatever your situation is. It's just like, let some time pass and get a second opinion, because your judgment is clouded. Don't just do something haphazardly, because you might regret it. All right. The Nine of Swords is telling us that don't let your mind tell you stories. In other words, this is about over-analyzing things, overthinking things. That's what can often send us into a downward spiral. So this is, don't allow yourself to get into that analysis paralysis. If you're losing sleep at night over the situation, pray for that clarity. Pray for that communication. Ask Spirit to intervene, and ask, you know, that you speak clearly and you can speak your mind and your words come out right. If you do have this communication, it's like, don't let your mind tell you stories that might not be true. Don't let it be sensationalized to a point where it's actually not accurate anymore. Okay, and it's saying often what you're worrying about is not as bad as your mind has made you think it is. Then we have the Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords is literally the card of cheating, or somebody that's doing a little bit something that's a bit sneaky or underhanded, or someone who can't be trusted. So I think to some extent that is reinforcing that for some people in this reading. But I really think that for some, again, you need to admit that where there's smoke, there's fire. There have been these things, and this card talks about this puddle of water is a sure sign that it's been raining for a long time. How did you not know that the storm was coming? Okay, and I get the same kind of feeling here. And it's like, you now need to know that you need to clear some things up. See what you've got that is like made up information. Where have things gone too far? Do you need to maybe admit, with regards to this health and finance issue, that there's something that is a bit wasteful or unnecessary, or maybe that the person has got some real concerns? I mean, are you going to the extent of, for instance, having spending a lot of money on health stuff that you don't necessarily need, to the detriment of not being able to pay the bond on your house or something? Does that person have a relevant argument here, that to the point where they feel like they're giving up because this is taking precedence over everything else? I feel like there needs to be a focus on what needs to be cleared up, what's unnecessary, because there's too much here, too much information, too much misinformation, too much excess of certain things. Look where the excesses are, whether it's in spending, whether it's in an obsession over something, whether it's an addiction. Look for the excesses. Look for what needs to be cut back on, and like, I want to say, cut the crap. So if there's a lot of stories and things going on, you need to get down to brass tacks. You need to get down to the bones of the situation, because there's too much that's just kind of clouding things, and a lot of it is just not relevant, not true, or there to deliberately kind of confuse things. All right, and this is, again, it's like you need to break away a little bit, even if it's getting into the garden. You need to be willing to not only focus on the negatives, focus on the positives. Look at people and things around you that you really do value and that you can spend quality time with, and shift your focus. Look at the world through a different lens so it can lift your spirits a bit. All right, and if there is a family involved here, I think that the focus needs to be on the family more than maybe individual selfish needs. And that's a hard pill to swallow. Some people are not going to like to hear me say that, but that's what's coming through. Okay, I'm here to tell you what I get. The King of Pentacles. He's saying to me, seek stability. Seek stability. The King of Pentacles is stable financially. He knows who he is. He's well connected with people that he likes. He's not afraid to not associate with people and things that he doesn't like. He's also talks about the end of an era. He's the last card in the tarot deck. So there's a cyclical ending and a new beginning that has the potential to take hold here, especially when it comes to our stability. This is things to do with the root chakra, how stable you feel in different areas of your life, all right? How stable do you feel in your home? Are you going to be kicked out at any minute? That makes you feel unstable. How stable are you in your job? How stable are you in your relationship? These are things that we need to look at, that give us the stability that we need in our lives, that make us feel safe, that make us feel nurtured. Because I heard also earlier in the reading, I don't feel safe. And there's someone who could literally say that, I don't feel safe. So whether you don't feel safe with your accommodation, with your relationship, with your financial situation, your whatever it is, look at why you don't feel safe. What needs to be fixed? Get rid of the rubbish and keep what's important. And sometimes spending time with people and family that we care about, and getting away from everything, even if you can go away for a day or two, or you can walk down to a lake or go for a walk in a nature reserve, something, clear your head, get away so that your perspective can change, so that spirit can come through to you with information that you need, that you can go sit under a tree and pray. Especially here, like if you're in the city or somewhere where it's noisy, it's showing the contrast there. Get out into the country, get out into somewhere that's a park or something, find some grass and ground yourself. And that will bring perspective. Okay, that was a rather heavy and interesting reading. I hope that this is going to help somebody who's going through this difficult period. And if somebody is unwell, I pray that there will be healing and balance restored. A lot of these things that bring stress and all of this along as well can bring a lot of ill health. Being stressed lowers our immune system, lowers our ability to fight certain things that will bring ill health into our lives. Lemon water is good for everybody. Flush the toxins out, flush the acid out. Acidity is terrible for you. It brings things like joint pain and gout and arthritis and cancer, and just look after yourself. And remember, particularly when you're in a stressful situation, find ways to negate that, find ways to heal that, or to get yourself out of it in some way, shape, or form. But make sure that you're making the right move. Get a second opinion if you need to. Don't just say, well, this sucks, I need to get out of here. That's not always the best solution. Okay, I leave it at that. I wish you all a beautiful day and week wherever you are, and I'll speak to you again soon. Take care. Bye for now.